Marvel United Multiverse from CMON is on Kickstarter, and we're about halfway through the campaign. I thought it'd be interesting to dive into the campaign, see if it's worth backing, discuss my thoughts and ideas with you guys to kind of help you to see if this is something you're interested in. I will be warned, though, a lot of the characters I didn't know. I had to use my encyclopedia to look up some of them because I was totally unsure of where to look. So hopefully you guys are ready to dive into this campaign of some wacky characters. Let's hit Marvel United. Okay, so as I said, Marvel United, we're on day 15. They just broke $1 million, but they have 11,000 backers. Now, Marvel United has been a killer brand for CMON. This is the third campaign that they have launched under the Marvel United entity, with X-Men being the last series, and it still seems to be growing strong, which means they have a lot more ideas and stuff that they want to implement to the system, which is cool. Marvel United is going to be taking the multiverse in this one, taking characters with alternative timelines if things were different, bringing them forward and adding them to the system. But there are some really cool changes I want to talk about in this game that might be new if you are a returning backer to the system or a backer who's thinking about putting their toe into it. This is a daunting system. I understand that. For people who don't have any of the previous product, I can fully understand being nervous to get into it because it is a lot. And I will caveat this that I do not own Marvel United. We have another person in our player group who owns everything, so luckily I can play with his copy instead. But we're going to start off right away. There's 2 pledge levels that we have announced right now. There will be an all-in later in the campaign lifestyle. Generally, they release that within 48 hours of the campaign, 2 days remaining. If you want me to cover that, if you want me to do any type of follow-up, I've done that with Marvel Zombies, where you say, okay, Bryan, everything's released. What are your final thoughts? Please let me know in the comment section down below. Your guys' thoughts and discussions is what makes me make my videos. So right now we have the Multiverse pledge. There's one thing interesting about this, but this is a pretty basic pledge. It's going to include all the stretch goals, which is a pretty good value. You're getting a lot of different characters added to your game, but it's still going to be pretty base level. A safe back, in my opinion, but there is something cool here other than waiting for retail that you could get. This game will be available at retail, and we have seen that Marvel United games at retail generally find themselves to be cheaper than Kickstarter, but you are missing a lot of those exclusives. One of the things I thought was interesting with this is they're adding in the Kickstarter exclusive Wrecking Crew. Now, this is going to be a talking point that I want to feature right now because I think it's super important. These are villains. These are characters that you're going to be playing the game, and I believe this is probably an interesting setup where you're going to play all of them at the same time. I'm not positive about that, but I believe that's how the Wrecking Crew is going to be implemented. But what I want to bring up in discussions of villains is that the villains fill a very important role in the Marvel United universe, because I believe the villains are where you get more of the flavor and uniqueness of the game. You can have 100 different heroes, but if you only have 5 villains, that's going to reduce the amount of unique and experienced gameplays that you can have, because each villain has their own unique system and you can only play those so many times. So by adding more villains to your system, it exponentially gives you more ways to play the game and more enjoyable factors. So I love the fact that this pledge will give you an exclusive villain pack on top of what you would get instead of if you were buying retail. I think that's really cool. It is an added value bonus. But this is the one that I'm not sure if I'd recommend. We're going to take a deeper look within all the contents of this one and other campaigns. The next pledge that they're offering is the Herald pledge, and this is going to be adding in additional Kickstarter exclusive content. Now, when we're talking about the monetary value for backing a game, I'm not backing these games for a stock market effect. That's what we're doing. We're buying games because we want to play these games and we want to enjoy them. But it is good knowing that if I buy a game and if it's not for me, am I able to sell this game and at least get my money back? And that's what CMON games almost historically have at least allowed us to do because of the Kickstarter exclusive items. Even today, this week, I sold some more games and I used some local Facebook groups as well as larger national Facebook groups. And I use the in search of post where I look for people who are searching for things. And I saw multiple people looking for Marvel United Kickstarter exclusive items. So you could even buy this game and sell the exclusives if you wanted to and recoup your costs. These are all valid things that you could do. The Herald Pledge is going to include some of that. But what I like about it, it's going to be including the Galactus expansion here, which is going to add a really unique system to the game that I think is really powerful and effective. What am I even talking about? A powerful and effective game, and I think this is going to be a really cool one. I also want to take note here, because we're talking about it a little bit later on when we get to the add-ons. The way this looks on the board, just as it is, how it's laid out, imprint that image in your mind, see how it looks, because it's going to come up later. This is also going to be including Iron Lad, another Kickstarter exclusive, very similar to these guys I was just talking about. This is, if you know, just additional bonus add-ons. But these stretch goals are going to include additional characters. Now, we'll get to some of these later, but you can see these are all Kickstarters, and these are the heroes that you're going to be playing, which is great because it's adding in additional characters for you to play. This is going to be generally way more built out than, say, the anti-heroes or the villains. There's going to be always more heroes for you to play, and they're still releasing more. Anti-heroes are really interesting because they're going to be filling in a special role where you could play them as heroes, but they also fill in that villain role. Again, adding more gameplay opportunities. I think it's super cool, and I love it. And then we got some Kickstarter exclusive villains. I was actually very surprised to see the amount of Kickstarter exclusive villains that we've had unlocked. This is a very good sign for me. I really, really like what we're seeing. The last one being Iron Patriot being just released. We've also had some additional things, and this is one of the things I want to talk about when I said there's some cool features being added to this game. We're getting to it right now, and that is the addition of equipment cards. Marvel United just had the cards, and they had some flavorful cards, but the game itself is very light. You just play cards. They have little logos on the bottom. I wonder if I can see any. I can't see anyone right here. They have little logos that look like comic book logos, but it was very light in terms of its gameplay. Now, I'll say strategically, the strategy depth is bigger. Like, there's more room there because of the push your leg gameplay as you try to fight the villain, rescue civilians, or beat the thugs. I think it's a pretty interesting concept. But the equipment is adding in more identity to the heroes, which I think was lacking from the first two games. So they had, there's equipment already being built into the core set characters of this game, but they said, you know what, let's go back and give the characters that have unique pieces of equipment and give them their equipment too, to make them feel more fleshed out, and I think that's super cool. So you've got the retail cards; those are for some of the more classic boxes, but then they're also going to have equipment for cards that are Kickstarter exclusive characters. So if you own this game in retail and you bought this and you didn't have some of those exclusives, it's okay, because you're still going to be able to flesh out some of your retail characters as well. And then for those characters that don't have equipment, they even made some generic equipment. Now, these aren't as exciting to me, but they're there and they're available. And then they have the Starjammers deck. You know, that's if you want to play those characters or not. Now they have an additional add-on, the War of Kings. This is just adding on more. Now, the note on this one is that it is Kickstarter exclusive, so this entire expansion will not be available at retail. It's only going to be available on Kickstarter. So note that if this is something you are wanting, this is the only way you're going to get it, is through Kickstarter. Now, I always tell people, look at the heroes, look at the villain count, the anti-hero count. See which of those are adding in the most value, especially if you're trying to find, you know, if you're trying to piecemeal your game and pick things individually. That's what I was going to look at. You know, see which ones are most likely going to be played within your house. But for a protection value and for a resale value, Kickstarter exclusive items are always going to give you the most. Now, here's the thing I want to talk about. When I told you to imprint that image in your mind of that Galactus gameplay, it's because I want to talk about the playmat. I got the experience to play on the playmat with my friend's copy that I mentioned, and the playmat is so nice because it sets a defined location space for where everything is going to go. Marvel United is really unique because it's played in this circle board where things are kind of just placed on a circle, and if you don't have a playmat, it can be very hard to make it look good. And that's why I wanted to show this, because this looks kind of sloppy. But the playmat gives you those defined locations and just sets things up so it's going to be easy for you to set up and get the game going. I thought it was pretty cool. I do think this is a good value to get this double stitched, or I'm not sure if it's double stitched, but double sided mat. I think it's really, really a good value to pick that up. The next thing are these team decks. Now, I actually brought that up on another page so you can get an idea. The team decks are if you want to play with a specific team. Now, that's like the Avengers or the X-Men, the Defenders. If you want to play with a specific group of heroes that belong to a specific unit, you can add the team deck to the game. And this is a fully open deck that the whole group of you can use to defeat the villain. But they're also going to have a drawback card to it. So this is a list of some of those heroes that are going to be available, either if they're available at retail or if they are promos with Kickstarter exclusive, it'll list those out. But this is an example. You have this negative card, so the Avengers. As long as this card is out, because what you do is you have the deck and you draw two and you have those two cards revealed. As long as this team card is in display, heroes cannot perform the same action twice in their turn. So a player is going to have to play this card for a negative effect, taking their turn, getting no bonus to remove it from the timeline, which is cool because, you know, it makes you have to, for getting these bonuses that are pretty cool with the team deck, you're going to have that penalty. And they have quite a bit of team decks here. You can see the scrolling as I'm scrolling through here, all the different team decks that they have available, which is a pretty good value. So if you have everything, this is a huge, huge value. It obviously loses value with the less expansions or additions that you have. And they also are going to be including two more that are going to be based on the releases of this campaign. So that is a team deck for $15. It could add value, but I'm not going to see a lot of resale value with this. I'm not sure a lot of people are going to be diving for this. It isn't Kickstarter exclusive either. So that is about it in terms of the talking about the benefits of the game and whatnot. We can scroll down here and talk about what's included in the characters, but I think this is pretty basic stuff. I think you can scroll through this and see it. I've given you my most important opinions regarding it. We're going to have to come back if you guys want and talk about the full value later. The one thing I always want to make sure I mention is we scroll on down here to the shipping costs. Everyone should be aware that CMON shipping is more expensive than other companies right now. So be aware of that. It is part of the cost of doing business with CMON. If you are hesitant and you are unsure because some of these values are quite variable and we don't even have the all-in pledge announced as of right now, you are more than welcome to go here and it says, can I make a $1 pledge now? And it says, yes, you can make a $1 pledge now. When the pledge banner goes live and the campaign is ended, you can add more to your funds to get any add-ons or boxes you would like. What do I mean by that? If you are unsure if the overall cost might be too much for you, you can pledge $1. You come down here, you change this 10 to a 1, and you pledge without a reward. You are still going to get the reward. You're still going to get access to all those Kickstarter exclusives. You're still going to get access to everything. You're only going to be spending $1 though at the beginning. And then when the pledge manager opens, you can add everything to your cart and see what your full price is going to be before you give your money up. It's a way to protect yourself. Now, the caveat with that is you are not directly supporting the goal growth of the campaign, which would allow you to get more stretch goals and further the campaign. So there's that cost, you have to make the decision for yourself. I recommend doing $1. I think it's the safest thing to do. But if we all did $1, this campaign would only have $11,000 and it wouldn't even fund. So it's an interesting quandary that we're in. So I will leave that there with that. Heading back to the main camera and saying thank you guys for watching the show. I appreciate everyone. This is where everyone clicks off the show, but I know my real G's out there, all the wolf pack, stays till the end because you guys are my favorite. And remember, if you want to support the channel, please check out my Patreon. Would greatly appreciate it. Check out the Discord to join the community. Let me know what you think. You can also give me all the razzing you need because I'm okay with it. I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.